And she said the most significant thing though, she goes, I picked up my kid at school and she said something to me. She's like, my teenager, who is a teenager, she's like, said, you just seem a lot happier, mom. You seem like a happier mom overall. And she was like, what? What do you mean? She goes, well, you're definitely not as crabby. You don't get as mad at me and you don't yell at me. She goes, you haven't yelled at me in days. And she was like, and she said she held it together in the car and went home and her kid went inside and she cried in the car because she didn't realize how much her mood was impacting everybody else in her family. And I said, that's very normal, right? That happens and that you're just so wrapped up in it yourself. But these are the things, like, you don't have to suffer alone. You don't have to keep going with no direction anymore. Hey there, welcome to the Female Health Solution podcast, where we discuss women's health, hormones, and everything else in between. Join me as we dive into the tools that you need to live your healthiest life. Why am I having these mood swings? Why do I feel like I'm going absolutely crazy? I cannot tell if something's going to happen and I'm going to completely fly off the handle or if I'm going to keep my cool. This is not me. I feel totally trapped in a body that's having these crazy responses for no reason, right? If this is you, if you have felt like, holy cannoli, holy bananas, I'm having these crazy mood swings and I feel totally out of control with it. I don't know why. I don't know what to do about it. Nothing I'm doing is helping. Where do I start? I am so glad you are here listening, watching, etc. I'm Dr. Beth Westy. Welcome back to the Female Health Solution podcast, where we talk about all things women's health. Now, let's just dive in and talk about mood swings. They can come on out of nowhere. They can be really, really, really intense. There are certain things that I see on a Dutch report. So Dutch test, a dried urine test for comprehensive hormones. I'm going to show you one of the results samples that I have, and hopefully you guys can see. I'm going to try and point some things out. It's never just one thing. It's never just one thing. That is what I find most often, is that people are like, mood swings. I have this problem. It's one problem, mood swing. What's the one answer, right? A plus B equals C, right? That's not always that simple when we're talking about the very complex and intricate female physiology here. So what does that mean? What do we do? What do we target? How do we go about this? By first testing, right? Now you can try some things at home to regulate moods. Now, I have yet, and I'm just going to say this as a blanket statement, I have yet to work with a woman who has not done everything in her power already to try and solve the problem on her own. So many women do all of the things and they're like, yeah, if I knew what to do, I would do it, right? So many times you'll be like, well, what do you do for mood swings? Well, just try and relax more. Just take it easy. Don't let things bother you so much. Just take a break every now and then when you really need it. Yeah, that sounds so great, except for if you have littles at home or you're at work or something goes on or you're in a public place and you're like, I can feel this shift happening internally. I feel like Jekyll and Hyde and the crazy person's coming out and I can't stop it. What the heck? Whether it be anger or screaming or crying or melting down, they're like, I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to be this person to my husband. I don't want to be this person to my children. I don't want to be this person to my workmates or family or friends, right? I've worked with women that have said that they have lost friendships, 30-year friendships, because they started having severe mood swings and they did not know how to handle it. So again, I say this because what I'm going to talk about is really looking at your system differently and what it needs. Because again, I know if you knew what to do, you would do it. You would do it. You wouldn't just be like, I don't know. Things are really terrible for me on a daily basis. I'm just going to let it ride. Are you kidding? Mood swings can ruin your life. Mood swings can ruin relationships. Yeah. These are things to take very seriously. Now, I talk about Dutch testing a lot, and I talk about working with women with this in my program. And this is just one of the many symptoms sometimes that women will present with and be really, really struggling with. How we handle this really depends on you and what we're seeing here. Some standard things that I do see whenever someone has mood swings that are really severe, or sometimes they're wondering, do I have PMDD? Right? I will see adrenal and stress issues. So, issues with your cortisols, some type of nutrient deficiency. It can be different, right? But there's usually some type of nutrient deficiency. There's usually some type of sleep issue thrown in there too, meaning you're not getting quality sleep or you're not feeling rested when you wake up, things like that. And then there is a problem processing estrogen. More often than not, majority of the time, what I see is an issue with methylation, as well as sometimes some of the severe things that I see. And I'm going to show you right on here where I see this. So if you're like, I really wonder if this is what I see so often, and it's insane. And I will tell you exactly what I tell women when I see this. Ah, but it's crazy to see it because I will a lot of times women will use the same words to describe something and say, "Oh yeah, I have mood swings." But it's almost like they're downplaying it. It's almost like they're trying to make it seem like this isn't that bad, or maybe I'm just overdoing it and maybe I just need to calm down. And this and this. There was a gal I was working with, and she had a new teenager. I think she was like 13, but also had 13 or 14. And then she also had a toddler at the same time. That's tough, right? And so she was home with her toddler, and then she would go drive her other kid to school and pick up and all that stuff. And she said sometimes she would just have such a hard time because so much of her patience was burned up by the toddler, because it's a toddler, because he was a toddler, that she felt like she didn't have anything left for her other kid as well as her husband. And she just felt like she was drowning, and these hormones were taking over and her mood swings were just controlling everything. So we did find issues with adrenals and stress response. We did find issues with nutrient deficiencies. We did find gut issues too. But some of the most significant things, and this is what really stuck out to her, and I'll never forget her face when I said this. So we look at this, we look at the pages, we get a general of estrogen and progesterone and testosterone and stuff. We get a general of here. This is just the summary page. Page 3, this is where we're looking at the details of the estrogen pathway here. And this is just what I call it, right? This is just how I describe it. This is how my brain works when I look at these labs and when I dissect this, and it's like almost like I can see. It's almost like I can see the pathways and see this is how this would make somebody feel. So it's these pathways here, the green, the red, the blue arrow. And the blue arrow, oftentimes when I see this one be elevated, right? And you can see how this one's elevated so much more here, that this can increase mood swings. And it reminds me of, if you've watched the movie Inside Out, where they have the mad character, right? That guy who something will happen and instantly he's angry and his head just goes into flames, right? Yeah, that I see that. Right? Now, if you don't have that, does that mean you're not going to have mood swings? No, there's just different pathway patterns that I'll see that have different. It's like a gradual build up to ooh, and then everything irritates. Whereas that one is the guy from Inside Out. What's mad, right? Because there's joy and sadness. The anger guy. Yeah. That. And when I was telling her this, she was like, yeah, I have these mood swings. She just kept calling it mood swings. And I was like, okay, so you have this odd pattern where this is elevated. And when I see this, I said, you have kids. So have you seen this movie? And she's like, yes. I was like, this is the guy that it's because all of a sudden, you'll be fine. And then it's like craziness. And then all of a sudden, the fire gets put out and you seem fine. Right. And she's like, oh my God, that's me. That's me. She's like, I'm not in a bad mood or crabby or having a tough day. She goes, it is literally like a light switch, Jekyll and Hyde. I'm this person, I'm not this person. And I just don't know where it comes from. And it comes out of nowhere. And it's like, it just onboards and then it's gone. And she's like, this is what's making me feel crazy. And she was like, I don't drink. I cut out sugars. I'm trying to exercise more. I'm trying to do more yoga and this and this and this. And she's like, I have a good life. I don't understand why the stress of life or whatever. She's like, I mean, aside from having kids and a toddler, which is normal stress and all this stuff. And I was like, right. But if your body's not processing this, and again, in Eastern medicine, liver holds a lot of anger, resentment, bitterness, and all these other things. And your estrogens are mainly processed by liver. Phases 1 and 2 there, that's liver. What we just looked at, that's liver. So that's going to be connected to that mood swing, and specifically anger, that anger feeling, right? That just feeling of anger. And it just clicked for her. And she was like, holy crap, this is incredible. As we were working together, because she was very nutrient deficient. She definitely needed more proteins. We changed a lot of stuff. Her energy improved. Her overall mood started to improve. And she said the most significant thing, because she was like, yeah, I think it's getting better. I think it's getting better. I definitely have less outbursts. I definitely don't lose my cool like I used to, or I'll get mad, but I can rein it in. I can, I've got a handle on it. It's not like it just is a freight train out of control anymore. And I have to wait till it passes. She's like, I for sure have a handle on it. It's really different. I said, fantastic, right? And she said the most significant thing though, is she goes, I picked up my kid at school and she said something to me. She's like, my teenager, who is a teenager, she's like, said, you just seem a lot happier, mom. You seem like a happier mom overall. And she was like, what? What do you mean? She goes, well, you're definitely not as crabby. You don't get as mad at me and you don't yell at me. She goes, you haven't yelled at me in days. And she was like, and she said she held it together in the car and went home, and her kid went inside and she cried in the car because she didn't realize how much her mood was impacting everybody else in her family. And I said, that's very normal, right? That happens and that you're just so wrapped up in it yourself. But these are the things, like, you don't have to suffer alone. You don't have to keep going with no direction anymore. You just take a urine test, see what your levels are, and get started moving in the right direction. And again, this is a gal who, I think she had a master's degree, right? She was on sabbatical. But again, women that I work with, they're brilliant. You're doing all the things. You're just not knowing which direction to move in. And once we get that guidance in the right direction, it changes everything. It changes everything. So that's why I love talking about this. That's why I love sharing these things, that it can shift and change so much for you. And the other thing is that I don't know many people that like feeling like that like being, crabby and moody and have this mood swing and anger outburst and out of control, where you're like, yeah, I guess that's normal now for me. I guess I'll just keep doing it. No, right? That doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to have that going on. And that's not the person you want to be. This is a place to get started right here. Go in the links, click the link, learn more, learn how to get started. There's so many other avenues and answers for you out there. There's so many other things to try, right? It can be really easy to get discouraged, but I promise, once you know and understand what your body's doing, all it takes is a little shift, and all the energy and effort that you've been putting in gets directed in an area that actually starts working for you, and it starts to change. So that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Please let me know if there's anything else that you need. I am always an open book. Don't hesitate to reach out. If you know someone that could use this message, please share it with them as well. So many people don't know that there are just other answers out there, that you can really take things into your own hands. Get the labs you need, get the answers you need, and start making steps in the right direction so your body functions better, so you feel better, and it changes everything from here on out. So thank you for being here, and I will see you guys later. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you would like more information, just head on over to drbethwesty.com for all the show notes and information from today's episode. And if you're looking for more community, more support, you can find and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and I would love to see you there.